Anthony Alfredo stood on pit road believing the nightmare was finally over. The lights of Daytona International Speedway glowed above him. The crowd was still buzzing from Duel 2. Engines were cooling. Crews were packing up. And in that moment, Alfredo thought he had done it. He thought he had raced his way into the Daytona 500. He had finished 18th. For most drivers on the grid, 18th in a qualifying race would not mean much. But for Alfredo, driving the number 62 Chevrolet for Beard Motorsports, it meant redemption. 1 year earlier, he had missed the 2025 Daytona 500. He admitted that failure had haunted him. He carried it through the offseason. He carried it into speed weeks. Every lap in practice, every lap in qualifying, every lap in the duel felt like a test of whether he belonged in the great American race. When he crossed the finish line in position, emotion took over. Tears filled his eyes. Cameras captured the release. He believed he had erased the memory that followed him for 12 months. Then came inspection. The duels at Daytona International Speedway are not exhibitions. They are official qualifying races that complete the starting field for the Daytona 500. Finishing position matters. Technical compliance matters even more. After every duel, cars roll through inspection. Officials check for rule violations. They check parts, fasteners, body tolerances, and safety components. Nothing is assumed. Everything is verified. During post-race inspection of Alfredo's car, NASCAR officials discovered a problem. Two cooling hoses were improperly fastened. One hose was designed to cool the transaxle, the other routed air to help cool the driver. According to NASCAR Cup Series director Brad Moran, the hoses were secured with tape rather than rivets. The tape did not hold. The issue was not performance-related in the way fans usually imagine. It was not a hidden engine advantage. It was not a manipulated body panel. It was not a horsepower trick. It was a fastening violation. But under NASCAR's rulebook, especially during qualifying events, compliance is absolute. If the car fails inspection, the result can be disallowed. Because the duels are classified as qualifying races, the ruling cannot be appealed. That detail changed everything. Alfredo's 18th place finish was wiped away. He was removed from the Daytona 500 field. One position behind him in the race had been McLeod. McLeod had crossed the line in 19th, one spot short of racing his way in. When Alfredo's finish was disallowed, McLeod was promoted into the field. Instead of packing up and heading home, McLeod will now make his 6th career start in the Daytona 500. For Alfredo, the celebration turned into disbelief. The emotional swing is difficult to describe unless you understand what Daytona represents. The Daytona 500 is not just another race. It is the sport's most prestigious event. It defines legacies. It attracts the largest audience of the season. For smaller teams like Beard Motorsports, making the race is a victory in itself. Sponsorship exposure hinges on it. Team morale hinges on it. For drivers who do not have full-time rides, it can shape their entire year. Alfredo had fought through the draft in Duel 2. At Daytona, cars run in tight packs at nearly 200 miles per hour. One slight miscalculation can trigger a chain reaction that collects half the field. Surviving is part skill, part awareness, part luck. Alfredo kept his car clean. He positioned himself correctly. He crossed the line where he needed to. But the rulebook does not account for effort. Once inspection failed the car, the finish was erased. There is no review panel for qualifying disqualifications. There is no secondary hearing. The decision is final. Brad Moran confirmed that the hoses were taped rather than riveted. The tape failed to secure them properly. In NASCAR, fastening methods are specified for a reason. Rivets provide fixed, permanent attachment. Tape does not meet the same standard. Even if the violation appears minor, the integrity of the rules depends on uniform enforcement. For fans watching at home, the details might seem small. A hose, tape, rivets. But in modern stock car racing, compliance extends to every component. Teams operate in narrow margins. They search for speed everywhere. That is why the rulebook exists in such detail. When something does not meet that standard, the consequences follow. Alfredo was not the only driver sent home from Speed Weeks. Corey LaJoie, Chandler Smith and J.J. Yaley also failed to qualify for the Daytona 500, but their eliminations came through finishing position. Alfredo's removal came after believing he had secured his spot. That difference is what makes the story so painful. Moments earlier, he had experienced relief. He had thought about the year of doubt that followed missing the 2025 race. He had answered questions about it. He had replayed it in his mind. The duel felt like closure. Instead, it became another chapter in a difficult Daytona history. For Beard Motorsports, the blow is significant. The team has built its identity around super speedway racing. Daytona and Talladega are their primary focus. They do not operate with the resources of the powerhouse organizations. Every opportunity matters. Making the Daytona 500 means television exposure, sponsor visibility, and competitive relevance. Losing that spot after inspection is a financial and emotional setback. On the other side of the garage, B.J. McLeod's story flipped in the opposite direction. McLeod has carved out a career through persistence and versatility. He has driven for multiple teams. He has built his own organization. Daytona often represents one of his best chances to compete on a larger stage. After finishing 19th, he likely assumed his speed weeks were over. When the inspection news broke, his season changed instantly. Racing can be ruthless in both directions. The incident also highlights the unforgiving nature of qualifying rules. During regular points races, teams can appeal certain penalties. They can argue interpretation, they can seek a review. But qualifying events operate under a different standard. The field must be set quickly and definitively. There is no time for prolonged disputes before the green flag of the Daytona 500. So when Alfredo's car failed inspection, the ruling stood. From a competitive standpoint, the violation did not involve aerodynamic manipulation or power gains. It involved fastening compliance. Yet NASCAR's position is clear. The rules apply uniformly. If one team secures hoses with rivets and another uses tape, enforcement must be consistent. Otherwise, the standard erodes. Fans often debate whether such penalties feel harsh. Some argue that minor technical oversights should not erase on-track performance. Others believe strict enforcement preserves fairness. In this case, the rulebook left little room for interpretation. Alfredo's 18th place finish no longer exists in the official record. The image of him on pit road, eyes wet with relief, now carries a different meaning. It represents how quickly hope can shift in motorsports. Drivers invest months preparing for one race. Sponsors invest money. Teams invest labor. Everything can change in the inspection bay.